guys, once again this is JT with VR Outdoors, doing a different type of video for you guys. Wanted to show you our solo stove. It's something that we've had for a while now, have a lot of burns through. We do take it camping with us. You know, nice contained fire. We do have the heat shield that goes over it to contain the embers, as well as solo stoves are known to be smokeless, which we do have smokeless fires for the most part. Now, just like any burns, you know, if it has some moisture, you are going to get a little bit of smoke, as well as if the logs do exceed the top part of the solo stove, you know, you will get some smoke from that. But for the most part, you know, it does kind of cut out the joke of the smoke following the ugly, which is still fun. But wanted to show you guys how we get it set up, how we use it, and let you guys see for itself how it all works. So basically, as you can see, this is our bonfire. This right here, this is a lid that I got from Amazon. Solo stove does make a lid, but this one has handles. And so basically at the end of the night, instead of waiting for the solo stove to kind of die out before I go to bed comfortably, I know I can set this on and it'll just go ahead and kill it. Now I'll go ahead and show you guys from last night. We still have some stuff in there. So right here do have some ashes, and basically typically if I'm at home, I'll let the ashes sit there from time to time. You know, maybe after 3 or 4 burns I'll go ahead and empty them out, which is what I did over here when we got here. Also, don't recommend you do that. This was just kind of, everything here is sand bottom, so I didn't mind it too much. But if you're in a nice site, you know, there's obviously a fire ring. That's where I'm gonna go dump this one to get a fresh start for you guys, to show you guys how we start it and talk a little bit more about it. All right, be back in a second. Oh, by the way, there's the only way to get this out. That's a fire ring, by the way. For those of you that don't know, it goes up, not this. There's tons of people that start off this way, and everybody in the comments, especially on the Facebook pages, lets them know immediately. All right, but yeah, so the only way to really get this ashes out is basically you just carry it. Do have the base for it as well, and just kind of take it over a nice comfortable spot and just dump it. So I'll be right back. Okay, so as you can see, we went ahead and dumped the ash into the already fire ring that they have for us here at the campsite, and we're going to start off with a somewhat clean base for our solo stove. Typically when I'm loading it, I leave the ring off and I'll put it on later, just because I can do that because it's not hot. If you start putting it on now, you know, when it gets hot, it's going to get more difficult to load stuff in there and whatnot. So I usually leave it out. There are a couple of different options. So I didn't realize we still had fire starters. So apparently we do have this one available, which I have used before. And because I barbecue, I always have some lighter fluid for the most part. Not recommended to use chemicals, but anybody who barbecues knows that it burns off, you're fine after, and we're also not cooking with it anyway, and it's not going to hurt the stainless steel. Which is also why when you're ashing this thing out, if you want to give it a couple taps on the bottom, it's not going to hurt anything, trust me. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get the kindling set up, and then I'll show you guys what that looks like, and we'll get the fire logs in there. We got some wood, so we'll get those in, get the kindling, get it started, and we'll talk a little bit more. Okay guys, so as you can see, what I like to do is I always put a couple of big logs to get those started and get those going. I did layer a base of bark. Since it's very dry, it'll flame up real quick. Normally I just use one, but I'm going to use 2 of the fire starters. Got the kindling going. So once I get this going, I have this log that I'm going to lay over to start get that catching. And yeah, got some extra kindling here. And I'll go ahead and light it up and so you guys can see how it looks. All right. I'd use a longer lighter if I had one. That's what I got right now. So just be careful. this going. So once this thing catches, this particular type of fire starter will hold a flame for quite a while. I like to let it sit and crawl up there so it's got a nice flame on it. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to set it in here right next to this other one. So as it's going, should be able to catch. Okay. Alright, so now this fire starter is going to catch this one. Now that it's really kind of getting going here in a little bit, I'm going to add rest of these kindlings to that, and then we'll put the big log on top. So just give it a second and we'll get right back to it. Okay, so now that, as you can see, it's going, we're just going to add a couple more. I like to really let it crawl. There we go. Fire wants to eat, so you got to make sure you feed them, you know. Especially with the Solo Stove. One of the things that you'll notice if you do get one, it does eat wood. It will chow through wood like a buffet. It is what it is. Now, could be good and bad. The good is you always have a nice flame, especially as you can see with these holes right here. It's a double walt stainless steel, so you are going to be getting a secondary burn, and that's the technology that helps with the making it smokeless. But like I mentioned, if you have a piece of wood that's up over, since this does not get the secondary burn, it's no longer smokeless. So just keep that in mind when you're purchasing wood. I got a lot of pieces that are too big for this being one of them, or this not being one of them. But as you can see, we got that going up pretty good. Go ahead and lay this on and get it going. There we go. That'll work. I'm actually going to grab another piece and throw it in here as well. Alright, here's a smaller piece, so we're just going to go ahead and I kind of want to lay this guy up. There we go. Alright. So we're going to let this get going. Whenever it really catches and gets going, we'll check back in and talk a little bit more about some of the accessories that we have and how they work, and as well as let you guys see for yourself how this thing performs. Alright, stay tuned. Alright guys, so as you can see, the wood has already caught. It wasn't too long. Honestly, didn't even time it. Only took about maybe 1.5 beers. Just kidding, not even a beer. Anyway, so because the bigger logs are caught, what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and spread the wood out to get a nice base of coals going, so that when I start adding wood, it's going to be nice, hot, and catch. So, woo, starting to get a little smoky. As you can see, the big log's caught. We're going to go ahead and use the Solo Stove Fire Pit tools, which, just an FYI, no way are we sponsored or affiliated with Solo Stove. We just like their products, and there's a couple of different reasons why, and I'll explain it as I use the different tools. So as you can see, the big logs have caught, so we're going to try and move them around, get a nice base going, so we can go ahead and add the Solo Stove shield. Alright, and then I'll explain what the shield does as we get to it and whatnot. So what comes in the tools is fire poker. This is great to stout the fire, get those logs, you know, really getting them opened up and going. I'm not going to use this one just yet, so I'm going to go ahead and save it. We'll set the cover down, set that there. What I will be using though, so that, alright. So see, these are the log tongs that for the Solo Stove that comes in that toolbox. One of the things I really like about it is, as you can see, there is an angle, so I don't actually have to stand up in the fire to really move stuff around. I can just kind of lean back, move stuff without being too close. Really comes in handy. The same thing with that angle really does help, especially with the fire poker, which, let me pull this out one more time. As you can see, both angled out, so I'm sitting here, I wanted to stoke my fire, boom. So easy. In fact, I can probably use it with these tongs here in a second. Alright, but like I said, we're going to go ahead and move this around. We can get those logs fairly even. Okay. There. Come on. That'll be good for the most part. Okay, so that's about all I can do for right now. What I want to go ahead and do is actually add the shield. We're not really using it today, but just to talk about it, I'm gonna go ahead and put it over. I almost forgot. Gotta put the base in. The thing about the base, you don't necessarily have to, if you do not have the ring, I'm sorry, not the base, the ring, my apologies. If you don't have the ring over it, what happens is it really, you can still get the secondary burn, but when it's channeled, as you can see by that lip, it really helps get that going. Now, pros and cons. The pro is with the ring, it helps get that secondary burn going. The con with the ring is that it radiates the heat upward. So as of right now, the heat's coming out. I can feel it further out here. Once I put the ring on, it does limit how far it stretches. So let's go. Put that on there. Well, it's a good thing I did it, because now I can see what it is I got to move around. So, grab our trusty fire pit tools. Let's go ahead and get that for just a second. Probably not too hot just yet, but we're going to stand these up. Get this ring in there. That there. Okay, well, as of right now, this guy doesn't really fit too well. What I'm going to do, go ahead and grab it. I'm going to flip it over. Grab it. I'm just going to flip it over. That way. This side, as you can see, it's already kind of going. I'll go ahead and flip it there so we can snap that off in a bit. I'll lay that there so she can climb. Like I mentioned, as you can see, there is some smoke. That's just because it's outside of the ring. Once we get this going, you'll see the more smokeless burn. But let's get this guy on if it'll fit. Oh, almost. Damn. Not yet. Oh well. Guess I'll have to put that down later after these snap. But we can talk about some of the tools. So, as you guys have seen, the tongs really come in handy. I was standing away from the pit, no issues. Poker, gonna use that. Once that chews up a little bit more, use that to kind of break it up. Another thing, so this comes with the shield, and the reason why, so you can get it up and set it down if you need to. Now, what's really cool about this shield is if you're in an area where you need a covered fire, that's what that's for, is to catch all the embers from flying away. We did have an incident where some of the embers caught on one of the blankets that was by the fire, and now the blanket has holes in it. It's a fire, things happen. So if you have the shield, that really helps prevent that, as well as the base underneath the Solo Stove. It helps not get as hot underneath. Now, whether or not I trust it on my deck, I know some people do. I haven't. I just put it over a brick, and better be safe than sorry for the most part. But yeah. So we burned quite a few burns with this. Really works out well. The tools, love them. Use them every time I use this thing. I don't have a carrier for these stuff, so hence why I've held on to the box. That's one thing I think they should come up with, is a nice carry bag for all this stuff, where it's nice and neat, rolls up, ready to go. But anyway, let me go ahead and let this get going, and then once we get the secondary burn, we'll show you guys that. We'll put the shield on, and you guys can see it for yourself. Alright guys, so I'm not going to get too close with the camera, but as you can see, nice good fire going. So what that shield does is, as the embers start to break off and they want to fly up, it does a real good job of catching it. As you can see all that white stuff on top of it, that's everything it's been catching for the most part. So if you're in an area where, you know, the fire is has to be contained, perfect, right? In our particular area right now, we don't need it, so I'll probably take it off later on, but right now let's keep it on, talk about it. If you need to add logs, it does come with a couple of tools. So these right here come with the shield, so if you wanted to add something, you can easily grab it. I kind of move it over where it's not in the way, and grab a log, toss it in there, and we're good to go. So, but right now, I'm gonna go ahead and use the get the fire poker, and we'll go ahead and get this stoked some. I love this thing. It really comes in handy. I don't have to get up in there. I'm a good distance away. As I'm breaking this stuff up, as you can see, we're really getting it going now. Alright. So we'll go ahead, put that back on. Alright. Let's see if we can't. That little close-up shot. So the heat, it's extremely hot straight up. If it's on the side, to be completely honest, when the ring is on, which does help the secondary burn, especially with the smokeless, like you can see, there's, now that everything's inside the Solo Stove, there's little to no smoke. I mean, you could barely see anything, and you know, it's a lot better than being choked out by smoke. I can tell you that from experience. So, but as far as the heat goes, when the ring is on, you got probably about, maybe, I can feel the heat here, which in all reality is probably about 3 feet away from it. This is actually where I was sitting here and here last night, and just far enough away where it's not overly hot and close enough to stay warm. And that was in what felt like 30 degrees. I believe it was 34 degrees here in our area. But yeah. So overall, it's a fire pit. It works great. There is a bit of a sticker shock when you see the price of these, but they have sales all the time. Thankfully, my fiance was able to gift this to me since we go camping so often. You know, it's a gift for us, but you know, who uses it more often? There's something about burning, right? But once you get over the price tag, it does come with a nice warranty. Anything happens, give them a call. They're usually really great about responding. If you're on their Facebook group page, they also respond on there really quick, which is really awesome. I mean, that's a great customer service. It is stainless steel. It's not the thickest. So the Brio fire pits, which are also smokeless, those are a lot thicker, but they're a lot heavier. So for a couple like us, you know, we try to camp at least once a month, and we want to be able to take this thing with us. You know, there's nothing better than camping, having a nice fire, especially one that's contained. And the bonfire works great, especially with a larger group. I think we've probably had, I don't know, I guess I'm gonna say like 8 people around this thing comfortably. You can probably squeeze in 10 really if you guys are that close, you know, like cheek to cheek. Just kidding. But yeah, no, we love it. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. I do have a good amount of burns with this thing. I'm more than happy to help answer them. Especially, you know, there's a lot of things that it's kind of straightforward. It is a fire pit. You put wood in there, you start it up, and you relax. But if you guys have any questions as far as like any of the warranty stuff, what really helps is if you join the Solo Stove Facebook groups. You get tons of ideas. You know, the heat deflectors, which should be coming out here pretty soon, those are awesome. However, I'm not too sure if I want to get one for this particular bonfire, since we do live in South Texas. It doesn't get very, very cold where we need it. Plus, you know, it's got a price tag on it, and there are other vendors that make heat deflectors as well as other accessories. For example, as you guys saw, my lid for this thing, it just works out so much better than the Solo Stove brand, mostly because of the handles. The Solo Stove lid does not have a handle, and last night there was still a small bit of fire. I went ahead and I covered it, no issues. I know with the Solo Stove lid, they recommend waiting for the coals to pretty much die out before you cover it, which I want to go to bed when I want to go to bed. I don't mind waiting for it to get down to coals, but if it's late, I can't sit here and wait for that thing to die out, you know. So that works out great. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Make sure to check out the Solo Stove on their website, as well as their Facebook group pages. Great product, backed by an awesome warranty. And yeah, like I said, if you guys have any questions, make sure to leave it in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you guys so much for watching this edition to the VR catalog. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye. Where's my beer?